Hello, STEM Nation. Jeff here, and welcome to episode number 89 of STEM on Fire, where we interview practicing professionals in the area of science, technology, engineering, and math to help guide students interested in STEM careers. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Now let's get fired up today with our guest, Jay, and I hope our chat will help ignite your passion towards a STEM career. Jay has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and started out in a sales role at Rockwell Automation in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But for the last 3.5 years has been a STEM ambassador traveling the world to strengthen the STEM pipeline. Welcome to the show, Jay. Fill in any gaps and share a bit of your personal life.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the call. Just very, very passionate about getting more students engaged in the STEM fields, helping them understand that STEM is everywhere. So no matter what they're currently passionate about, if they can find the STEM behind that area, they can have a very rewarding career in something that they love and in a way that will make that area of passion potentially make the world a better place through it. So I hope more kids will be able to understand that and see that and really enjoy what they do and make an impact on the world around them.
Oh, awesome, Jay. And let's go back to when you first graduated and you started out in as a sales engineer fresh out of college. Could you help STEM Nation understand why you chose that route?
Yeah, so I did a couple internships with Rockwell Automation and a couple with GE Healthcare. And those experiences helped me really understand what areas of engineering I really enjoyed and what areas I didn't enjoy so much. And what kind of fit my skill sets the best. So one of the things that I would recommend to anyone is doing some type of strengths analysis. I personally did strengths finders, and that really helped me understand that communication was my top strength, along with a few others that the book recommended. And this particular book gave you kind of recommendations on potential careers or different things that you should do in order to continue to leverage that strength. And one of them happened to be sales. It's not exactly why I looked into it specifically, but it kind of made me think about that. Is this possible for an engineer? And through some experiences in my engineering internships, I was exposed to the sales organization. And so I took on a few kind of side projects with the sales organization. And what I found was that I really enjoyed being with the product in its final kind of location, helping the customer out. And I enjoyed that more than I enjoyed being part of designing, one piece of it. So for me, I was most satisfied when I got to see that in its final place and help the customer implement a solution that would allow them to make their plant safer, more efficient, et cetera. So it just really came down to understanding where I thought I could have the most impact and where I would enjoy myself the most. And fortunately, technical sales roles are a great role.
So, Jay, some people out there think, it's a sales role. You think of, a slimy salesperson, right? I don't,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
I went to school for 4 years, 6 years, 8 years. I'm not going to do sales, right? I feel like I'm wasting my STEM degree. Could you help STEM Nation understand, what it is you would actually do as a sales engineer? And, are you wasting your STEM degree?
Yes, actually, I kind of thought about that at first, and I thought of the used car salesman type thing. So you have to understand what kind of sales role you're getting into. So, for example, inside sales and outside sales are very different opportunities. So, I didn't want to be. I wanted to be out with the customer, so I needed to make sure it was a role that was similar to that. And the other thing is, depending on which organization you're with, so for example, Rockwell's sales engineers are required to have a good amount of information, and that's why we only hire engineers for this role. And so the way I look at it, I was the quarterback of our kind of presence at these customers, and I had to know a little bit about everything and enough to understand what the customer's challenges were, and then bring in the right experts to be able to then go a little bit deeper in some of those areas. And for me, the role was almost like the show How It's Made, which made it very exciting. So every day I was going into different types of manufacturing environments, understanding how these products are made, everything from dairy to had some customers that made cement blocks, to customers that made food and beverage products. So those kind of experiences were just very exciting, and I felt like I got to learn a lot more about how the industry works, and I got to have an impact on many different industries. So you may not be doing that hardcore design that you did in some of your engineering classes, but that kind of engineering mindset and the thought process of trying to identify how your products can create solutions for these customers is still very important. And so I used my engineering side of my brain every day. And then I also got to use the business side of my brain. So it was a very rewarding career that I think gave me a lot of skills that I can now apply to my current role and many other things. Because now I'm solving the problem of how do we get more engineers. And I'm using my communication skills that I got from sales and other leadership opportunities to help reach more people.
So, Jay, for STEM Nation, we always talk about all the good things about a position or a job out there, but what's one thing that, you really didn't like about the sales role?
So one of the challenges is some of the times when a plant is down, people are not the nicest when their plant is not producing. Some of these,
I'm guessing they're not making money, right?
Exactly, and downtime can be something that, depending on your industry, can be very expensive. So sometimes I don't want to say I didn't like it, because part of my role is to help be part of that solution. And when you have the tools or at least the resources to call on people that can help you be part of that solution, it's very rewarding. It's kind of like how I look at my current role now. Sometimes it's really sad to see kids that are losing their passion for STEM at such an early age, but I reassure myself in the fact that being part of the solution is what is very rewarding and exciting. And so it's not all sad and stuff. So there was times where customers were not the most pleasant, and that was not fun at all. But usually, once we were able to talk about potential solutions and figure out what their problem was, and if we were a good part in solving it, in the end things turn out really well, and people in general are nice. Just sometimes in certain situations it's tough for them to stay calm, and I understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all do it. We all go into this upset condition, and what Jay's referring to is, customers got a lines down, right? They're not manufacturing. They're getting pressure inside to get that manufacturing line back up and running. So they're going to push that pressure down to Jay. They're going to be in an upset condition, and Jay comes in, helps solve the problem, gets them up and running, gets them back to a normal state. And actually, that you probably have a better customer or a better relationship with that customer after that event.
Absolutely. That's a good point. Anytime you can support in those situations, and it helps you gain a lot of trust, and really helps you prove that you're a true partner. And that goes back to your earlier question about the sales versus the engineering, and did you lose anything? Those type of relationships and situations help that customer understand that you truly are a valued partner, and that you're helping them solve problems and not just trying to solve them something.
Yeah, and I'm going to say STEM Nation, and that goes beyond the work environment. That goes with any interaction, with any other human in life, friends, family. They're going to get upset if you can help them get to a normal condition again, and you help them out, and you kind of stay calm through that endeavor. You're going to have a strong relationship with everybody in your life. And Jay, I want to go back to you. It was a very subtle comment you made about, I think it was when you were co-oping, and you're looking at the sales side, and you're like, I did kind of a side project with the sales group to see if I really liked it, and that's I think really important, because even after you graduate, and let's say you're working full time, and there's another group inside the company or something else that you think you might want to do, there's usually always that option to go and do kind of a side job with that group to see if you would actually enjoy doing that. So I just wanted to bring that out to make sure that people understood that. And
yeah, 100%. I think it's really important to always, kind of grow your skills in different areas. You really want to focus maybe 80% of, or more, depending on what your particular role is, but of your kind of education or new learning on things that are specifically important to your role at the time. But maybe that other 20, 10, 15, whatever you decide, percent of training that you're doing or things that you're researching can be in new areas or things that you don't have a direct correlation right now to what your role is, but may in the long term either help you in a way you didn't know about or help you in a different role in the future that you may not have considered if you wouldn't have started working in some of that. So always look for opportunities to become more well-rounded, and you don't have to be an expert in everything, but just dabble enough in some of those areas to get a good understanding. And if it really seems to then start open some potential doors and go in deeper.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Jay. And you got, like I say, you probably got one of the best jobs right now as a STEM ambassador. In 2 minutes or less, can you explain exactly what you're doing today?
Yeah. So it changes every single day. But in a nutshell, there's a couple main areas that I'm supporting in. One is kind of the strategy and relationships between some of Rockwell Automation's largest philanthropic partners. One of the main one being the first robotics competition. We automate the first robotics competition field. So I do everything from helping select the products from that, which I use my previous sales background, to helping get more kids involved and inspiring them to participate or to continue to participate using more of my leadership, communication, and sales background. I do a little bit internal to the company as well, helping our company have STEM as part of its general DNA, especially in the area of volunteerism, and helping our employees leverage their awesome skill set to volunteer in a way that makes a big difference in the community and also does a lot for the company. And then last, general STEM advocacy. So speaking at conferences, anytime I can get in front of large groups of students or parents or teachers and even current engineers, I try to do as much as I can to find large platforms to talk about STEM.
And Jay, I've seen you on Instagram and Twitter. What are the best avenues if somebody wants to go, what is Jay doing today? What's the best way then for them to follow you?
Yeah, so I'd say Instagram and Twitter are definitely the top ones. On Instagram, it's J Flores Inspires, and on Twitter, it's J Flores 2032. Unfortunately, J Flores Inspires was too long of a name for
or Twitter.
Twitter, yeah, which is I found out after I changed my Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the best, and on LinkedIn, of course, I'm on LinkedIn just under my name, J Flores. I'm always every day putting STEM content on any of those, and anytime, especially when I'm traveling around the world, I like to share what we're doing in other countries as well, because this is something that's universal, and I want kids everywhere to have this type of opportunity.
Yeah, and if you didn't get those links, you can go to the show notes on STEMonfire.com, and I'll have all the links in there, and the Instagram and the Twitter handles. So thanks for that, Jay. And we're going to twist over here a little bit to getting through college, right? In order to do what you're doing, in order to travel the world and be a STEM ambassador and do what you do, you had to get through college. So, just go back a couple of years, and I believe looking at your LinkedIn portfolio, you grew up in Puerto Rico and then went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. But what do you wish you knew back then that you think would help STEM Nation get through college successfully?
One of the most... I think it worked out in the long run because I am exactly where I love being, and I chose a great company. But one of the most interesting things that could have been a disaster for me was choosing my major. I didn't really do much research or talk to people prior to getting to the university. I knew because of different engineering camps that I participated in that I wanted to do engineering, and I knew a little bit about a couple of the different categories, but I didn't really talk deep about like what it really means to be a certain type of engineer and what kind of classes you'd be taking. So at the time when I went to the advisor, I thought I was, at that time I was interested in alternative fuels. So I thought I'd be working for one of the auto companies and probably mechanical or chemical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to the advisor about that, and she's like, okay, well, you did really well on your IB exams. For those who aren't familiar with IB, it's kind of like AP testing. If you choose mechanical, you'll test out of all the chemistry. And most things you hear from other college students is like college chemistry is super hard.
Right.
And so in that moment, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I'll be closer to graduating. I won't have to take chemistry. This is going to be great. So I chose mechanical. But if you look back to why I tested so well in chemistry and was able to test out of those classes, is because I loved chemistry.
Yeah.
So I probably should have stuck to chemical engineering. I was valedictorian in my high school, and the hardest the closest thing to taking that valedictorian away from me was physics, which is what I'd be doing in mechanical. So in that moment, I was only thinking about graduating early, and I wasn't thinking about what I actually loved. And all I could think about was this scary chart that they had of all the classes you had to take and like how you had to do it in order to do it in 4 years. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just find your passion, understand which areas of engineering apply best to that area that you're passionate about, and go into that. And if it takes you 5 years, that's fine. And I did 5, and I took a couple other opportunities to do an extra internship and to study abroad, and just really, as long as you can afford it, don't get into crazy debt. But if you can find scholarships or you have money saved for college, definitely get the most out of it and do it in the area that you're passionate about, because that's what's going to help you in the long run.
Yeah. And Jay, when out in your travels, when you're talking to all these kids from all different ages, what are some of the big misconceptions out there on why kids wouldn't pursue STEM even though they have the aptitude to do it? Why don't they go down that path? What are some misconceptions?
So one of the biggest things I see from industry and the way that they fund their STEM outreach is that they're putting hundreds of millions of dollars, all over the world into the idea that we need to get kids excited about STEM. And it's usually high school focused, when that money instead should be focused on keeping kids excited about STEM. And it should be at the elementary, middle school age, where a lot of these students are already making the decision whether they like science or not, whether they're a math person or not, which is crazy for me to think that people, especially adults, are telling kids that it's okay to not be a math person. Like, when a child struggles with tying their shoes, we don't just hand them a pair of Velcro shoes and say, hey, sorry, you're not just the shoe tying person. Like, we help them out. We help them figure it out. And that's what we should be doing in math and the other STEM subjects, because they're very important to the future of the world. So I think more energy and time and money needs to be focused at the early ages, so that the students can see that real life connection to their math and science classes before they ask that question, why would I ever need to use this again in my life, and don't get a good answer, and then decide I don't want to be in STEM. So the more we can do at those ages, the better off we'll be. And parents can help with that too, by encouraging their kids to be very curious. One of the biggest mistakes that parents make is when kids are asking the question why, they don't allow the kid to continue to explore. They get frustrated because the kid's asking too many questions, or they say it's the way it is because I said so and I'm the adult. And that is just from an early age destroying the kind of scientific method and thought process for this kid very young. And then when it comes time to explore these things, they're not going to have any experience in that area, and they're not going to know where to get started. So I think those are the two biggest things that industry/teachers can do, and then also parents, to help make a big difference.
All right. Thanks for that, Jay. And I'm going to go back to the question of what really has you fired up today?
Yeah. So I just came back from the first World Championship in Houston, and the second. There's two weekends of the World Championship. The second weekend is this weekend in Detroit. And man, we had 40,000 people show up in Houston. Yeah. The final matches were in Minute Maid Park, where the Houston Astros play. So these students competing in the Super Bowl of STEM are playing on the field where the World Series team from a couple of years ago was playing, and it just shows that this is an exciting sport. The stadium was loud. There was fireworks. It was awesome. And then this weekend it'll be at Ford Field where the Detroit Lions play. So STEM truly can be fun when kids have the real life connections that they're excited about. So the more we can do to help them see real life examples, the more engineers out there we have telling kids, this is what I do and this is why it's important, in a way that relates to young kids. Because sometimes engineers are really good at making really cool things sound really boring because we get too technical. So we need to understand, how do we bring that in a way that matters to like an 8-year-old, right? If we do that well, like this is something that can be celebrated to the level of sports. And I think if our society finds a way to do that, the world is going to be a much better place, because these kids will grow up wanting to be STEM superstars, and they'll be celebrated that way.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for all that, Jay. So you got some great advice out there for students and for parents. And we're about to close it down here. So we're going to ask for a parting piece of guidance for STEM Nation, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah. If you're a parent, an adult, whether it's a teacher, and a current engineer, just someone that's passionate about helping kids, just go back to what I said at the beginning and help them understand the STEM around the things that they care about. You can go into any room and say, oh, engineers make this much money and they're really important and our company needs you. And you might get one or two kids that are driven by that. But it's not an easy path. So if you instead go in and say, hey, here's some examples of a bunch of different areas where STEM is involved that you may not have known about. And if I can find that STEM in all these areas, I'm sure I could find it in the area that you're passionate about. If that student recognizes that there's STEM behind what I already love, that's what's going to make them kind of take it to the next level. Because a student that has those skills in the area that they're passionate about, those are the type of people that change the world. And I'm looking forward to helping those of you who connect kind of find different examples in that way. And hopefully we can continue to help grow this together.
All right. Thanks, Jay. And with that, we will say goodbye.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed that chat today with Jay. You can head over to STEMonfire.com, subscribe to the email list to keep up with the latest happenings, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player and share with a friend. Until next time, I hope this chat has helped ignite your passion in STEM.